Welcome back to the Antonio Chauran Sports Podcast, everyone. It's been a few weeks, right? But we are closing in on that 50th episode. Very excited about that. I don't really do like numbers on like the podcast, like welcome back to my podcast episode, whatever. I only mention that though because we're only this is the second to last episode before episode 50. So episode 50 or 49, if we're going to be doing that today. Super excited. Been a lot going on just with work. I feel like I sound like a broken record because I feel like I always say that. Just in life in general too, just a lot going on. Not bad stuff, good stuff. Life is just life. It's doing its thing. But it's been good though. It's been good. Been very, fortunate with a lot of stuff. I'm also reorganizing my office a little bit. I don't know how much longer you'll see this format before I completely redo my office. Fran and I, we've been just selling some stuff because we have some stuff in the house that we just don't need anymore. And so on Facebook Marketplace, we've been selling some stuff. There was a shelf. I don't know if you ever like saw maybe the outline of it like over here, but it's gone. I had all my Legos on it. For those of you who don't know, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I have so many Legos, and they're like literally all over the place right now because the thing I had my shelf on, or the thing I had all my Legos on the shelf, is gone. So I'm still trying to figure that out. I already ordered the replacement though, so that's good. But yeah, like this Lego right here, it's kind of like it's from 10 of 4 scene in 2 movies, actually. One, if you see either right at the beginning of episode 4, A New Hope, or right at the end of Rogue One. This is from like that scene. I actually have 2 that connect. Now, I sound like a huge nerd, but that's okay. Anyways, usually I have this on my shelf, but because I need to make some space right now for the time being, for like, I don't know, maybe just the next few days. I'll have some stuff here. But when I get a new desk, that's kind of like the next big thing. I have this big desk, branches out to here. It's kind of like an L. This extends. This can actually push back, but I like kind of the setup here. Got this, a little thing I want to show. There's my baseball signed by Eric Hosmer. I do need to get a little like display case or thing for it. The benefits of a case is obviously it just doesn't collect dust because it's in a case. But I don't know. I've seen some cool stuff where it's just like a stand. I saw like 3 baseballs where kind of like that, and it just like sits on it. So yeah, well, we'll see. Got my cool scout hat that I got in KC. So I feel like I'm doing like a show and tell to shit you guys have already seen already. So anyways, ideally, if I can redo my office, maybe in the next few months, it'll be complete. And then you guys are going to see the new setup. So I'm excited for that. So it'll be good. But quite a few things I want to talk about today. I'm going to do a new format where I'm talking about like where I start off with like sports news, like things that I'm not going to like get in depth with today, but just kind of like headlines. So we're going to start with that. So I wanted to cover like all sports topics. So I'm starting off with the NBA. Obviously, the main one I haven't talked about was the NBA championship. I'm going to get more in depth with that. So, but just with headlines, the KD trade to the Rockets. If you guys didn't see that, it's been almost a week now since that's taken place. But yeah, he's going to Houston. The Suns get back Dylan Brooks. What's his name? It's Jalen Green, the young kid, the young talent. And they got like some picks and stuff like that too. So KD automatically makes them a title contender without a doubt. And the West, a team that's in a Western Conference that's so packed And then you look on the East, and there's just really, it's kind of like wide open. I feel like there's a lot of teams that feel like this upcoming season could be their opportunity, given what happened to Tyrese and the Pacers. Tatum is out, torn Achilles, Dame Lillard, and Giannis up in the air if he's going to stay with Milwaukee or not. So there's some teams, maybe a Knicks team can finally get to the finals and even win one. And Cleveland potentially, but things are kind of up in the air there as well. Maybe the Hawks, right? They just made a trade recently as well, where they get Kristaps Porzingis. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Anyway, so that's the first one. Second one, Inter Miami loses 4-0 to PSG in the FIFA Club World Cup. It could have been like 8-0. But that's not what happened, because Luis Enrique has respect for Messi and is like, I'm not gonna do this to you. So credit to him for doing that. In the FIFA Club World Cup, for those of you who don't know what that is, it's just a World Cup for club teams across the world, being held in the U.S. So you got clubs from all different types of leagues all over the world, like Serie A, La Liga, Premier League, Ligue 1 in France, as well as a few MLS teams in Liga MX as well. We had some teams representing from Liga MX, including Monterrey. Can't remember if there was another team potentially. I just can't remember. But I definitely know Monterrey for sure. With Sergio Ramos. Really weird seeing him play in Liga MX, but that's another topic, obviously. But yeah, Inter Miami, the only team representing the MLS in the round of 16, get absolutely rocked. And you just see the clear difference in class, right? It's not even comparable. But everyone was like trying to get to Messi after the game from the PSG side, whether to get a signed jersey. I think Dembele was the one that ended up getting the jersey. Rightfully so. Played an amazing season and obviously helped PSG get their first ever Champions League title. So good for them. Moving on now to the NFL. Steelers all in on a new identity. So literally this just happened this morning. I'm recording Monday evening, last day of June 30th, almost July. Damn. Just traded Mika Fitzpatrick to the Dolphins for Jonnu Smith, as well as Jalen Ramsey. This new identity, what it is, I don't know. Maybe they're trying to go full offense. Obviously, they got DK Metcalf, just got Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. Now they got a new Jonnu Smith, hell of a tight end, but they already got Freiermuth in Washington as well. They're stacked at the tight end position, that's for sure. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what this new all-in identity is that Mike Tomlin has been boasting about. Very curious to see what happens there in a competitive AFC, let alone a competitive division, right? Time will tell. NFL season starts soon, so we'll see what happens. And last, but definitely not least, by any stretch of the imagination, I think this is how you say his name, Ketel Marte. I think that's how you say it. Plays for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And this was a story that had gone viral over not totally a week ago, almost a week, I would say. Great player for the Diamondbacks. Apparently, he was at bat. No, I think this happened when he was at bat. They were playing the White Sox, and apparently a White Sox fan was talking smack and had mentioned something about his late mother, who had died in 2017. I don't know what had happened. I don't know if she was sick or something, but his mother passed in 2017, and this White Sox fan allegedly said something to the effect about his mom. Really messed up. Look, and it made him very emotional. Like even during the game, he started crying. He was just very emotional. He just couldn't keep his composure. Just tore him up. And rightfully so. You lose your mom, and then you have some fan letting you know about it. And they're like, "Are you kidding me?" Look, I love sports as much as the next guy. I love talking smack back and forth. It's part of sports. But there's a line. There is absolutely, there's nothing blurred about it. There is a line, and you just don't say that. You don't. The White Sox fan, I actually saw like some TikToks about it and some videos and stuff. I think he said something to the effect of like say hi to your mom for me or something like that. Like just really messed up, you know. And he was like kind of laughing about it. So I'm saying allegedly, but it did happen. Like there's literally video evidence. But yeah, just not good. And there's just been a poor support towards Martin in the Diamondbacks. So you love to see that, right? You love seeing fans being like, that's not okay. You don't do that. Like there is do's and don'ts as a sports fan. So yeah, I definitely appreciated the support that came his way, especially from not just other players, but other fans in baseball, right? So yeah, but those are the four main headlines I wanted to get through. But this is definitely going to be a heavy NBA and Gold Cup conversation. So we're going to go over to the NBA real quick, where we just got our new champion for 7 straight seasons now in the OKC Thunder. First off, congratulations to the Thunder. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander wins Finals MVP as well as regular season MVP, and he now joins a club of stars, legends, right? We got Willis Reed, Kareem, Moses Malone, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaq, Tim Duncan, and LeBron James. And I have here in my notes as well that Michael Jordan won regular season MVP and finals MVP in the same season 4 times. 4. LeBron, also on this list, is the only other player aside from MJ to win it more than once, won it twice, back-to-back seasons. MJ, though, 4 times, man. I mean, I'm a LeBron fan. I love LeBron. But damn, MJ, 4 times. Like, that's insane. That's besides the point. But yeah, he now has joined a list with these guys that it's just cemented in stone. Had a great finals. I mean, that Thunder team, man. You feel for the Pacers. Obviously, what happened early in that Game 7 with Halliburton tearing his Achilles. Tough. Very, very tough. You don't want to make excuses and have that as an asterisk next to the OKC title. But people are going to make it. But at the end of the day, though, OKC won. They deserve to win that finals. They were the best team all season. They were battle tested throughout that playoffs, especially against the Nuggets. It took them to 7 games. Not easy. Not an easy title by any stretch, especially coming from the Western Conference, which was absolutely stacked. You got to give it to them. They a great young team. A lot of people too were just looking at this team like, like there's not much to like. This isn't like an all-time great team and stuff like that. And the one thing that annoys me, especially with sports media, is like people are looking for a reason to downplay this championship, and I'm like, why? I guess I can understand like why they do this, because they want to come up with topics that are polarizing and is gonna divide a room. I get it, you got to get ratings. I understand that. It's just annoying, like I feel like there's always this narrative around certain teams where like just teams weren't that great this year. It was kind of a lull period and they took advantage of this. Like, no, like this team finished with what, 64 or 68 wins, something like that. Like they were rocking throughout the entire season, absolutely obliterating teams throughout the entire season. And it carried into the playoffs. They had momentum. Granted, again, if Tyrese doesn't tear his Achilles, could have gone another way, absolutely, but you don't know that for sure. Now, Tyrese had the most 3-pointers out of all of his other teammates in that game, and he left in the first quarter. That says something, right? But again, OKC deserved this championship, 100%. The way they built this team through the draft, getting key pieces throughout the season, like an Alex Caruso, like an Isaiah Hartenstein, they were able to build a team all around Shea, right? That was their guy. They're like, all right, let's build around him, and they were able to. So absolute credit to the Thunder. And, I said this in my last podcast where, I feel like we could go 8 seasons in the NBA with the new champion. I agree with that. I still believe that. But, you have to believe that OKC are going to be, if not favorites, one of the favorites to win it again next season. So, big congrats to OKC in that respect. Let's go over to the Pacers. Really unfortunate for them. OKC, this is their first ever title. Same would have been said for the Pacers if they won. Really interesting season for Achilles tears, right? There were 7 players during the season that tore their Achilles. Notable players as well. Obviously, this most recent one with Tyrese, but right before that, Tatum, when he was playing the Knicks, Game 6. Dame Lillard tore his Achilles as well earlier in the season. DeJounte Murray, James Wiseman, another Pacers player. There's actually 3 Pacers players on this list who tore their Achilles this season. Drew Smith with the Heat, it was like his 3rd season. And Isaiah Jackson, also with the Pacers. Kind of weird that this is happening a good amount. There were 2 other players, I believe, where this happened, but one, it was like in the pre-draft where it happened, and then another one, he like entered his first game. It was like his debut in NBA game, and he tore his Achilles during that debut game. Man, it really sucks. I'm no doctor. I don't know why this is happening, but it's notable, right? So you wonder if some of these teams are going to try to adopt a new training plan, or I don't know. I don't know what it is. But it's concerning, right? Because these are, I feel like the 2 scariest injuries in sports to deal with are ACL and Achilles tears, because they can be re-aggravated. There are injuries that knock you out for a long time. You can come back from an Achilles injury in a year, but you're not fully yourself until like year 2. Like when you're 2 years removed from the actual injury/surgery, because typically once you tear your Achilles, like immediately, either that night or the day after, you're getting the surgery to repair it. Same thing with an ACL. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Like any time you hear you hear about the injury, you just scares the shit out of you. But as soon as you see like a guy look back, make it like they were thinking that someone like hit them, or they immediately grab that area, you're just like, oh no. Like it's really unfortunate, and you hate to see it, especially with a guy like Tyrese, who looked like he was going to have a game, man, in Game 7, right? To potentially get the Pacers their first ever championship. It's tough. But, like I alluded to earlier, with the East being wide open, I mean, so many teams in the East can take advantage. I mean, the Knicks, you would think they'd have to be favorites for next season. They have to be. I haven't looked at the odds, but I would definitely have them there at the top. Absolutely. I know I said with the Bucks, it's up in the air, obviously, with the injury to Dame, as well as the potential for Giannis to leave. But do you think maybe he's looking at the East and he's like, all right, I mean, I know he haven't really had many guys this past few seasons, but with everything up in the air like this, is this a potential season to get another championship? Who knows? Um, Obviously with the injuries that the Cavs dealt with throughout the season and into the postseason, they flamed out early in the playoffs. But you still got Donovan Mitchell there. Maybe they're looking at this as a potential to make it back to the finals. Obviously, with this new iteration of the Cavs post LeBron, that's a possibility. Maybe a team like Atlanta. Obviously, they had that run when they made it all the way to the conference finals. What was that in 21 or 22? Lost to the Celtics. I think that was 22 because the Celtics beat them, and then they obviously lost to Golden State. But like I said, they just got Kristaps from the Celtics. Maybe something can go on there. I don't know, but definitely more open in the East and the West. So so some really interesting stuff, I think, for this next season to look out for. So definitely looking forward to that. Now, wrapping up the NBA talk there, let's move over to soccer or football. Either football or football, wherever you are on the planet. So the CONCACAF Gold Cup is going on right now. And I haven't really talked about it on the show, but I recently started a TikTok. You can find me at Antonio Chauran 29. I wanted to start a TikTok just because I wanted to get the podcast out there more, but I'm not just doing podcast content like what I do here. I'm just changing it up a little bit. I want to try to, do a wide range of sports, but also just, entertaining content, stuff that'll make you laugh. I'm a little stupid, right? So it can be funny to some people. But I talked about the Gold Cup, specifically around the U.S. and Mexico, la selección, and how, everyone's kind of just looking past this towards next year with the World Cup. Obviously, if you're the U.S. or if you're Mexico, you're happy to win. But I mean, the Gold Cup has been the Gold Cup since 1991, and there have been 17 tournaments, not including this one. So this is number 18. But before this tournament, go back to 23. Out of the 17 Gold Cup tournaments there have been, either Mexico or the U.S. have won 16 out of 17 tournaments. And the only team to kind of shake that up a little bit was in 2000 when Canada won. In Canada, funny enough, alluding to some stuff I'm going to talk about, just lost to Guatemala. 1-1, obviously, after regulation, and lost in penalties. I think it was 6-5. Go Guatemala, right? But in this conversation that I was kind of trying to start with the U.S. and Mexico, they're looking past to 26 with the World Cup. But obviously they're favorites, right? How could they not be? There's been a lot of drama going on with the U.S. national team, specifically when it comes to the players and not wanting to play. Specifically around Pulisic. There's other guys like McKinney, for example, but he's in the FIFA Club World Cup with Juventus, as well as some other players. And Gio Reyna, his name is always thrown in there as drama as well, just because of what happened with him and Berhalter. But Mauricio Pochettino is now the club or the national team manager, head coach. Every other team, every other country says they're managers, but we say coaches, obviously, here in the States. It's been underwhelming. Like in the Nations League, they got absolutely rocked by Switzerland, like 4-0. But here they are in the semis, going up against Guatemala. We'll see what happens there, right? Anything seems to be possible in this tournament. But I want to specifically talk about the two upsets. Alluded to it with Guatemala and Canada. Also, Honduras against Panama, who are one of the more prolific offenses so far in this Gold Cup. I think I have it here. Well, let's break it down. So, obviously, we had both games go to penalties. Um, Honduras beating Panama. Guatemala beating Canada. Both teams, Canada and Panama, leading the tournament in goals up until that game. So through the group stage, they were leading in goals. Canada had 10 goals. Panama had 11. Obviously, they had that one massive win where they won 6-0. Who was that against? I cannot remember. Was it 6-0? Yeah, something like that. Anyways, Ismael Diaz was leading their team, not just Panama's team, but the entire tournament with 6 goals, and he was the one guy that had a goal against Honduras, but it was on a penalty. I mean, and the fact that Guatemala and Honduras were able to hold basically these offenses that were on fire to just one goal through regulation, and then being able to take them all the way to penalties. Very impressive. Very, very impressive. Some history I want to get to between these two teams before I kind of, boast about how they played in their particular games. So like I said, the Gold Cup has been around since 1991. Obviously, before that was like I forgot what it was called. It was like the CONCACAF tournament or something like that. Guatemala has made the semis only one time in the Gold Cup era since 91. And that was in 1996, where they lost to Mexico 1-0. They played in the third place match against the U.S. and they lost 3-0. Since then, they have been in 10 Gold Cup tournaments. There was a few tournaments where they didn't even qualify. So that's why they were only in 10 when there were more. They only made it past the group stage 3 out of those 10 times. So 7 times, they didn't even make it past the group. They didn't even get it. They weren't able to get through. And then you go over to the Honduras side, who have been more successful actually in the Gold Cup. And in the 1991 inaugural tournament of the Gold Cup, they made it all the way to the finals. But they lost to the U.S. Very close too. It was 0-0 at the end of the regulation, but they lost 4-3 on penalties. Unfortunate. But there was a stretch between 2005 and 2013 where it was, where they made the finals. I'm sorry. Let me regroup because I have a lot of notes. Between 2005 and 2013, they made the semifinals 4 times, and 3 out of the 4 were to the U.S., and the other one was against Mexico. So there's some beef, there's some history with Honduras and the U.S. and as well as Mexico, because since then they've either made it to got knocked out in the group or the quarterfinals. They went group, quarterfinals, and then group. Back in the last group where they got knocked out, didn't even make it to the knockout rounds, which is this past tournament in 2023. And both times they made it to the quarterfinals within that 5 tournament stretch were both losses to Mexico, who they are matching up against, I think, on Wednesday. I think that's when the semis happen, July 2nd. Yeah, they match up against Mexico, and the U.S. Matches up against Guatemala. So, again, really cool how they were able to make a run with the both of them. Again, specifically, I'm looking kind of trying to key in more on these players with Honduras. Carlos Pineda leads the team with 2 assists, including one against Panama off of a corner, where obviously they're able to tie it up and eventually push it to penalties. Guatemala as well. They have their guy, Oscar Santis, who doesn't really seem like he can get the ball in the net, which is okay. He did in penalties. But he has 9 shots on goal, but no goals. Seems like he's due one, right? So who knows? Maybe a little bit of foreshadowing against this U.S. team. Had an amazing assist, though, to Rubio Rubin, who leads Guatemala with 2 goals, including the tying goal against Canada. That was an amazing goal, by the way. A thunderous header, amazing cross by Oscar. Yeah, I mean, both goals I thought were great. And funny enough, both of the goals against them in the quarterfinals with Canada and Panama were both penalties. Imagine if they weren't awarded those penalties. Could have won 1-0 both games. But, food for thought. What if we have an Honduras Guatemala final? I mean, that would be crazy. And obviously, I'm Mexican, right? So I'm rooting for La Selección. Hope they win. But on the U.S. side, right? I'm an American, Mexican American. Shout out to Cheech and Chong there. That was a reference to Cheech and Chong. It'll be. I always get torn, right? Whoever I want to root for. And I've dealt with that many times because there have been a lot of Mexico and U.S. Gold Cup finals. But we can mix it up a little bit. I'm not tripping if neither team wins and goes to the finals. They have plenty, right? And like I said, everyone's kind of looking towards the World Cup next year. Obviously, both teams though could benefit from winning this things, from a morale boost, right? Like, all right, win the Gold Cup, good momentum going into the World Cup next year. We'll see. But yeah, I'm really impressed though, and I know not a lot of people are paying attention to the Gold Cup. They're like, what the hell is this? But soccer is soccer, football is football. So we'll see what happens. I again would not mind at all if we have a Guatemala Honduras final. But logically, I think we're gonna have another U.S. Mexico matchup in the finals. Could be wrong, but would not be surprised at all if these games went into penalties. I mean, Canada was one of the favorites to win. A former U.S. coach and player, he was the manager for Canada, and now he's facing some scrutiny for losing. But yeah, I mean, Canada, granted, they didn't have all their players. But you had a guy like Jonathan David, right? I mean, he's the one that scored the penalty against Guatemala. But seems like anything can happen at this point. So yeah, we'll see. But Guatemala, U.S., Mexico, and Honduras set to face off in the semis this coming Wednesday, July 2nd. Definitely, we'll try to watch those games. So yeah, so that's really kind of what I wanted to go over today. Going to do a little bit of foreshadowing with episode 50. Very, very, very excited. I haven't recorded it yet, but I have done a lot of research on how I want to do this podcast. And it's not going to be about an event. It's not going to be about like me responding or reacting to a game or this or that. It's going to be a little different. Very excited about this. And you notice that throughout this pod, I have been using terminology that usually like with the game, I'm saying like 1-0. I usually say like 1-0, but I want to pay more homage to this football terminology. And I'm just going to leave it at that because it's for a reason. Like I said, haven't recorded yet. 4th of July is this Friday, so I want to be doing stuff for that and doing a little bit of traveling potentially for that. So episode's not going to come out this week, but aiming to get it out maybe next week. Very excited about it. Again, episode 50. I've been doing this for 2 years now, and something I've created, something that I love to do, put the time in, and have invested in time and some money, obviously, for quality equipment. Really excited about it. I've said that like 5 times now, but I really am, and I've enjoyed putting the work into this episode, and I hope you guys enjoy as well. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Really enjoyed it. I need to come up with a new word. I keep saying enjoy or excited. I am. Come on. I college educated. I can come up with a few other words that are synonyms. But anyways, hope you all liked the video. I was going to say enjoyed. Really looking forward to the next episode, though. Episode 49, this one, episode 50 coming up. Go watch the Gold Cup. You know, look out for more NFL news, NBA news. But, you know, right now we're kind of in the season of obviously baseball, but soccer as well with the FIFA Club World Cup and with the Gold Cup and just ramping up to the World Cup next year. So, yeah, thank you all for listening. Catch you all next time. Peace.